Good evening, everyone. This is Miss Nikki with Little Hands, Big Hearts, and I have my wonderful, very handsome, and very studious and very intelligent co-host. Tell them who you are.
My name is John Beasley.
Yep. And tell them a little bit about yourself. What grade are you in?
I'm in second grade, and I have one sister and one brother that lives with me.
Do you take care of?
I take care of both of them.
Yes, he does. He's a very good brother. One of his many leadership qualities. So this is my co-host for the evening. We have some wonderful panelists tonight. Unfortunately, there was some more hiccups. We had some emergencies that came up, but it's okay. We're going to keep right on with our segment tonight. Tonight, our focus for the first installment of the Little Leaders Career Exploration Series is education. So we have some wonderful educators here tonight. I'm very proud to say that these are people that I admire. I've seen their life over years. I've known them for years. I was acquainted with them years before, and I've watched them just grow into their professional self from the point that I met them in college and just postgraduate school. So these people I really admire, I respect them, and I know that they have a lot to share on tonight with you and with your little person that you have with you or your little people that you have with you. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask those. If we can get to them, we will. If not, if we can't get to them during this segment, we'll definitely get to them afterwards, okay? So with that said, I'm gonna have John to read our mission statement for you, just to let you know a little bit about Little Hands Big Hearts and what we do, why we do what we do, because there's a whole purpose behind what we do. So go ahead, buddy.
The mission of Little Hands, Big Hearts Little People Service Organization is to develop little people into servant leaders who think beyond themselves for the greater good through
Explicit,
explicit and develop
intentional.
intentional opportunities for development,
Mhm.
selfless service to others, and community-based volunteering.
Very good. Thank you. He's a little nervous, but he's doing excellent. So that's just a little bit about our organization. We basically are focused on developing little people into servant leaders. One of the ways that we are continuing to reach our mission is through programming like this to bring you programming that helps to plan for the future. I do believe that that futures are intentional. Like you don't just stumble on something, as far is concerned. You don't just stumble on that. You have to plan, you have to be intentional about it. So I am excited to present this to you as an educator myself. I do believe in the power of exposure. So this is a pre-exposure conversation on tonight. I do encourage you, like I said, to have your little people here so they can hear about the field of education. Join us next month as we delve into medicine and law, and we want to help you prepare your little person for their future. So, with that said, I would like for my panelists to introduce themselves, tell us all about you, and yeah, y'all are going to enjoy them. So, go ahead.
Yes, well, thank you so much, Miss Nikki and John, for this invitation to participate in this fabulous event. It's an honor to come on here and discuss education and answer all the questions about education. I have been an educator for over 15 years. Well, first, my name is Dr. Shirley Sims. I've been an educator for over 15 years in higher education. That is my background. That is my specialty. I primarily work with students, adult students that want to come back to school and find their passion. I am the executive vice president of operations at Azure College in Florida. I have two wonderful children. Maurice is 15, getting ready to be 16, and then Callie is 2. And I share my life with my life partner, Albert, who's very supportive. I am also a member of Zeta Phi Beta sorority. I do a lot of service work through my sorority as well as through partnering with other community organizations. Also, besides that, yes, very busy, but I'm also a business owner of my own online training center, I Train Now, where we focus in professional training and development, not only for adults, but also for teens. So I will most likely be giving you additional information about that, Miss Nikki, because we have a teen academy coming up, free courses for teens to learn more about career readiness. And that's pretty much it, I think. Yes.
The whole bunch. That's not it. That's a whole bunch. All right. Tybee Small, future Dr. Tybee Small, actually.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Tybee Small. I serve as Vice Chancellor for Diversity and Engagement at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville, Tennessee. So go Vols. I am a native of Pahokee, Florida, so I'm a Floridian. Graduated from the University of South Florida, both in my undergrad and my graduate degree. So go Bulls. I work in higher ed, so I work on a university campus, but I also spent some time in municipal government doing education and business partnerships with the city of West Palm Beach before coming to Tennessee. Very, very active in our community. I do believe that it's our responsibility to pay it forward. So I serve on the board here in Knoxville of the Knoxville Area Urban League, where I lead youth in education. I also serve on the board of our Tennessee Valley Fair and do a whole lot of work with our local utility, Knoxville Utilities Board, where I serve on that board of directors as well. So really, really engaged in the community. In addition to that, I am also involved with my fraternity. I'm a life member and a South Central life member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. So I've been a member of my fraternity for 23 years and have been doing quite a bit of service through my fraternity as well. So I'm happy to have this conversation with you all, Nikki and John. John, I know that you are a sharp young man. I need everybody to know all the great things that you do in your community and all the service that you do, because we are absolutely honored that we can have this conversation with you and that you're going to be leading us tonight. So great work, John and Nikki. Thank you for all the work that you do to impact our community and change lives.
Thank you for that. He is an awesome leader. He is probably my poster child. He has, even when he was little, I think he was about 4 years old, I had him to share. He presented these bags that we prepare for veterans, and he was a little nervous, but he got it done. And I was so proud of him. So he just kind of represents everything that our organization embodies, for those kind words for him. Thank you. All right, so we will get started. What were some of the hobbies that you engaged in as a child that contributed to you becoming an educator?
So many. As a child, I was very active, obviously, in sports, anything from basketball to volleyball to dance to cheer. I also participated in a lot of teamwork. That was something that was very important that has shaped me as an educator today. In sports, you learn how to work as a team. I always like to tell my staff and my faculty, there's no I, we are a team. Everything that we do in education is a team. We are molding young minds, we're helping adults. So through sports, I was able to form teamwork, function as a team. So that was something that has helped me as an educator as I've advanced in my career.
All right, so I've thought about that question a whole lot. I think nothing and everything that I've been a part of prepared for a career in education, because it wasn't something that I aspired to do and be, but I knew that I wanted to give back. I was raised with a grandma who was born in 1922, who just always talked about the importance of giving back and helping others. And so I know I wanted to be in a career field where I could do that. And education sort of kind of happened. I was a really good student growing up, much like you, John. Well, you probably were a much better student than I was, John. But love to read, love the educational process, love to learn new things. And so I really do think that my love for all things education really prepared me for this work that I'm doing now. So there wasn't one particular thing, but I think it was a whole lot of experiences that I had that sort of put together, crafted this whole educational career that I've embarked upon.
And just like you said, Tavi, education was not my field of choice. If I say growing up, I knew I wanted to be in law. I wanted to help people change how the criminal justice system is. That led me to go to the University of South Florida and major in criminology. But one particular thing did not lead me to become an educator, but I knew it was my passion to help others. Always when I was little, like John is doing right now, getting involved in the community, making baskets, making cards, going around to the neighbors, and just spending time with my family was things that has helped me grow into the educator that I am today.
Dr. Sims, I have a question for you. So,
Yes.
University of South Florida, was there any particular person that may have shown up to your school and encouraged you to be yourself? And who was that person? No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. Yeah. No, I have to talk about that because I am from Sebring, Florida. So yes,
Right.
I am a country girl.
Mhm.
And in the country, sometimes we were not exposed to as many things. So I knew I wanted to go to school, this thing called college, but I am a first time generational student. So my parents and my grandparents always told me to reach for the stars, never give up, go after your dreams. So yes, one day a representative from USF came on campus, Mr. Tavi came on campus. And he was speaking to us, and I went down to the auditorium to listen, and all I heard was free application to apply. I said, oh, wait a minute. Yes, I have to apply to the University of South Florida. I didn't know if I was going to get in. Honestly, that was the only school that I applied to. I took my chances, and given an opportunity to go to USF, I graduated cum laude. I went on to get my master's degree in public administration and then recently my doctorate in education. So through Mr. Smalls, future Dr. Mr. Smalls, he came and he informed us about college and walked us through that entire process. So that was very well rewarding. Thank you, Mr. Smalls.
I was just giving you a hard time, but you said something very important. You talked about being a first generation college student, and I don't know if Miss Nikki, any of your students will be a first generation student. So just like Dr. Sims and I, nobody in our family went to college, and so we didn't know what to expect. It was something new for us, and so we were really blazing a trail for our families and for people in our communities. And so if any of you students are out there, maybe first generation college students, guess what? You can do it. If I can do it, and if Sims can do it, you can absolutely do it. Although it's a little scary. I don't know, Dr. Sims, but for me, I was a little nervous. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't have anybody to call home to ask, what happens when this happens, or fill a FAFSA out. I mean, it was so many things that I didn't know, and so I had a little bit of imposter syndrome, because I was like, I belong here. Much like Doc, I came from a very, very small town, right? So I was like, do I belong here? Can I do this? Can I compete with all of these other people who came from these big cities and all of this? And at the end of the day, though, I realized that the things that we learned in our little small town and, in our schools and in our families prepared us to be successful in college, even though we were blazing a trail for our families.
Absolutely. And what Miss Nikki is doing with her organization is exposing the children. Like now, John is our co-host, and he is getting exposed to that. So that is going to help him as he venture out and become a veterinarian, in which he wants to pursue later on.
And I don't have, my mom actually went to college, but by the time I went to college, my mom had passed away. So I wasn't a first generation student, but I was me and my dad were in the boat of learning how to go through this process together, so I didn't get Tybee to come to Jacksonville and recruit, but I did get Mr. And I don't know if you guys remember Mr. Bernard Batson.
Bernard Batson.
To my high school in Jacksonville, and he was like, we're giving away money for Black scholars. I was like, I'm one of those, I want some free money, and that coupled with like Bright Futures and some private scholarships I got, I was able to go down to Tampa. I attended USF, graduated with my bachelor's and my master's. And I haven't looked back since. That was probably one of the best experiences for me overall, going away, and that experience at South Florida, it's indelibly marked on my heart, on my mind, on my soul. So
Absolutely.
And I just appreciate you all, like Shirley's talking, Dr. Sims, I'm sorry, I know her as Shirley too, but respectfully, Dr. Sims, talking about basically like representation. It matters,
Mhm.
having people that look like you come to you and tell you, you can do this.
Right.
That matters.
Mhm.
I was accepted into like 4 or 5 colleges, but it was something about Mr. Batson when he came, the
Mhm.
presentation and the layout, and you can do this. And we have money set
Mhm.
aside for people just like you. And it was a no-brainer for me. So
Right.
thank y'all for sharing your stories. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I have a
Mhm.
comment from Marilyn Spence. Marilyn said, awesome story. I'm not sure who she's talking to, but both of y'all, awesome story. Thank you for sharing. So,
Can I ask John a question?
sure.
Hey, John, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
All right. So you're in second grade, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you do very, very well. You're a really good student. You're really involved in your community and you're involved in sports. So my question for you would be, what would you tell somebody else maybe coming up in kindergarten or first grade if they want to be like you? What would you tell them to do? What did you do to make you successful so far?
You understand the question? How would you encourage someone who wants to be an awesome second grader?
Just go do your dreams.
Go follow your dreams?
Follow your dreams.
What would you do in school? What would you encourage them to do in school? Do they talk back to their teacher? I know that's
Have
right.
a good school year.
Have a good school
Yeah.
year.
Have fun
Yeah.
doing school.
Have fun. What about paying attention?
Attention.
Pay attention.
Pay attention in class. That's the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it is?
It is.
All right. And I also like to tell people to work hard. Do you work hard in everything that you do, John?
Do work very hard.
Wow. Well, that's good to know. I wanted you to also help inspire some of your other little leaders, so that they could be doing this the next time, what you're doing now, and it's working hard, it's paying attention,
Mhm.
your dreams. That's really important. So thank you for inspiring us to do that, John. I know that I have to do that sometimes.
Yes.
So we're gonna go to the next question. You want to read that one?
I'll read the question. What skill do you think it's important for parents to look for and identify in their child if their child seems to show proclivities or tendencies towards possibly becoming
An educator.
educator.
All right, I'll read it again. What skills do you think it's important for parents to look for and identify in their child if their child shows tendencies towards becoming an educator? And we're not pigeonholing anybody, but anything that you would
Mhm.
parents to look for in their child. And you guys are at a different level. So I'm K through 12 education. Then we have,
Mhm.
University, college collegiate education.
Mhm.
So yeah. What would you say?
Well, the one thing that I would say is that education is a very noble profession.
Mhm.
Sims and I both, talked about this the last time we had a conversation. We don't care what you study when you go to college, but we will say go get some post-secondary education, whether it's going into a universities like ours, whether it's going into a community college, whether it's going into a trade or a technical school, because anything that you want to do, you will need some type of post-secondary education. You'll need a certificate or some training or some additional knowledge. And so we will push education to you because it really is the great equalizer for many people. If someone wants to be an educator, or I would say the things that we talked about earlier, you have to be a vociferous reader, right? You have to learn how to read. You have to love people. You have to love networking and making connections. And you have to have a whole lot of patience. And so when you think about this field of education, there's so many levels at which you can do it, right? You can certainly be an educator at the K through 12 system, right? You can be an educator in college, university. But whatever you do, you're going to be a lifelong learner. And I think you're going to be a lifelong educator because no matter what you do, You should always be learning your craft, and you should always be preparing the next generation to take your place. Whether you're an engineer or a lawyer or a doctor, you still are an educator because you should be preparing the next generation. And so I think we're all educators, but if you want to be a formal educator, you got to take school seriously. You got to focus on the things that you talked about, John, and working hard and paying attention and studying. And if you decide that this is a career for you, then the path is going to be so bright for you, because we need great educators, John. We need, young Black men like you to be educators. So as I think about, K through 12 system, there are many students that don't have teachers who look like them ever. If so, it's once or twice in high school, or one or two, college professors, if that. So education is absolutely a noble field, and I would encourage you all, if it's something that interests you, to certainly pursue it. But you got to work hard and pay attention and do what you need to do in the classroom.
Absolutely. And for a parent, and speaking from a parent perspective of a high schooler that is currently at Dillard in a magnet program, taking all these advanced courses that I cannot even take myself. One thing as a parent I have learned to do is to listen to my son. Yes, I am an educator. I work in higher education, but a part of that is listening and hearing what he is telling me. His love for computers and his love for being a gamer is something that he really enjoys doing. So I encourage parents to sit down with their children, see what they want to do. Because oftentimes we always say, what do you want to do when you grow up? To be honest, I don't even know what I want to do. And I'm an adult. But one thing I do know is I love and I have the passion to educate and to train others. And as Tavi stated earlier, in everything we do, we are educating someone. You are teaching someone. John said earlier, he has siblings. He teaches them different things. They look up to you, John, to make sure that you are reading, that you are going to school. You are a role model. So in a way, you are an educator. You are teaching little people like yourself to be helpful in the community. So I encourage parents to spend that time with their children, see what they actually want to do, and also teach them how to be a leader and what does a leader mean to them and in their community.
I would say for me, I am in K-12 education. I'm a special educator, education educator. Let me say it that way. And I have always loved working with children. I think my first probably 3 or 4 jobs were in daycare. So I've always loved, working with children. I think that was the catalyst for me. I knew I wanted to, but there was a fear that I had before getting into education. So my undergrad is in international studies. I tried to avoid education as much as I could because I had this fear. I remember just praying. I was like, God, I don't want to mess anybody's child up. I don't want to mess anybody's child up. And it was particularly in reading, because we know, the reading stats for especially students with disabilities, especially Black children, and I was just like, I don't want to be a part of something that's contributing to children not succeeding. That's not my heart, And when I went back to school, I had professors that were excellent, and they just, I became a learner all over again. Like when I say I love what I do, I love to learn about special education. I mean, any opportunity that I have or am given to learn about special education, I take that. So definitely I look for passion for people, look for passion for helping people. That was part of the drive for me to become more educated in terms of training, in terms of, partnering with people. I had some great educators over this is my 14th year. So over the last 13 years that I've been privy to, that I've been able to glean from. So learning how to collaborate with people who know what you're trying to know. And then also learning how to teach what you've learned to people who may not know. So that passion is very important. Learning how and loving helping people, I believe, is very important, and wanting to be a lifelong learner. I remember at USF in my undergrad program, one of my professors, Dr. Hashish, I don't know if y'all know him, but he would always say, I'm a student for life. I'm a student for life. So that's something that I have taken on. As much as I was tired of college, I love to learn. I'm finding myself just not learning to, but just reigniting that passion for learning even the more every year. Like, what more can I learn to help a child, to help families as advocate for their children? So definitely, those are my takes: passion and a love for people. All right. You guys want to add or anything? We can go.
Nikki, yeah, I do want to add just one thing. You said advocate, and I think Shirley, Dr. Sims as a parent, and then Nikki as an educator, you may be able to share with parents the importance of advocating for and making sure that making sure that they know that you're committed to their success. Because this may not have happened to anybody else, but I remember having a guidance counselor who told me that they didn't think I was college material, right? Based on whatever authentic self I brought into the room, for some reason in that person's mind, this didn't signify college. And so I think that having family members and having people in your community who can go and advocate for you at the school, advocate for you in your community, that's important. And so I know both you all look at it from two different perspectives. So you all think about that, Dr. Sims as a parent and then Nikki as an educator.
So my entire family, we take education very seriously, from my mother, who has a higher education degree, to my siblings who all have higher education degrees, and my partner in his side of the family. So it's something that we take very, very seriously. So for a parent, something that I do with my son, who is a teenager, and I've been doing this with him since he was in elementary school, so like John's age, at the beginning of the year, I have him write down goals. What do he want to achieve for the year? What is that grade that he wants? And when he was younger, it was all A's. I want all A's. I'm like, okay, that's great. Now he's taking these magnet classes that are AP classes, advanced classes for parents who don't have high schoolers. And some of them are college level classes, and he's in the 10th grade. So it's now having a serious conversation with him. At the beginning of the year, we do what is called the education contract. I lay it out in the beginning. What do you think that you can achieve? What is attainable for you? Look at your schedule. You playing basketball. Obviously, you're a teenager. You want to hang out with your friends. But what do you think is attainable for you? So myself and his stepdad, we look at it and we say, okay, now what happens if you reach that goal? Is it money that you get every grade report period? That's the reward. Now, what's the consequence? When children get of a certain age, you have to give them consequences that are related to their action. So he comes up with his consequences, and to him, that shows that education is serious. We sit down, we go over my grades. My parents are on top of my grades. They monitor my grades. I get rewarded for my grades, and then I don't get rewarded. I get consequences for the grades. So I think as a parent, speaking from a parent perspective, it's oftentimes parents, we say, yeah, get grades. You got to get good grades. Well, what does that mean? Let's set some goals for our children so they will see what get good grades means. To them, that's their job. That's their job, to go to school and listen to the teacher, to take good notes, to turn in their homework. You are training them to become a leader, to become a professional in whatever track they choose to be. Because even though I'm a vice president, I have to go to work on time. I have people that depend on me. Tavi has students and faculty and presidents that depend on him. So we're teaching them at a very young age that if you do good, you should be rewarded for your good progress. So that's one thing that I use in my household with my teenage son. It tends to work. And he's been doing very good thus far. He has a 4.23 GPA. So we're very proud of him. And then we start having these talks now. He's in the 10th grade about college. I try to push that bull on him. I try to push that US up on him, but he don't want to go. I said, oh man, okay. So he says he wants to go to Duke or Florida State. Two great institutions. Not Tennessee yet, Tavi.
Yeah, I ain't got hold to him yet. Wait till I get hold to him.
But just putting that thought process in his head to see that, you have to get something behind your name. My grandmother used to say, and Tavi's grandmother used to say, is education is key. No one can ever take that away from you. So you have to get something behind your name, whether it is a degree or certificate. And we have to teach our children young to strive for that. Because me being coming from a South, very small area in Tybee as well, we didn't have people just telling us about it, but now we're able to educate others about it. So I know if I could do it, get a doctorate degree, and Tavi's almost done with his doctorate degree, you can do anything that you want to do, John, and all of the little ones listening in.
That's awesome. For me, advocacy is, in my profession in special education, a lot of times once children have been placed, parents kind of fall back. And that's the fallback. Like, that's the time to get even more ingrained, because now they've identified some kind of learning gap or behavioral gap that needs to be closed. So it's all hands on deck. So for me, I have always been a proponent of parents staying involved. I've always had the fortune and the blessing of parents trusting me with their children. I love that, but don't ever trust me more than you're willing to be available. So when I call you for a meeting, show up. When I tell you that I'm having an issue, show up. When I call you to tell you that your baby accomplished something they hadn't done, show up. Show up for them. Let them know that you're involved. So speaking, I guess, from advocacy, from that perspective, like, you have to be involved. A lot of times, with children, if you don't speak up, teachers, sometimes we don't have very reputable teachers. It's the truth, so you will find that sometimes there are teachers that pigeonhole your child. They don't give your child what they need. You have to be present. You have to be accounted for in your baby's education. So I would encourage parents, like, when there is open house, show up. I was never the teacher that I wanted to always call about negative stuff, especially when I know there was a behavior problem or something. I want to be able to call you and tell you that your baby had an awesome day. So when I call you, answer the phone. If I have to, that way, don't be laughing, Tybee, that's real. But when I call you, answer the phone, be available, because we have to celebrate those small victories, because I promise you, small victories turn into consistent victories over time that close gaps. They make learning, behavioral gains. So just make sure that you are present for your little people. I know for me, I remember being in first grade. My dad, I was talking to him recently about this. I remember in first grade, I was so used to getting A's and all this. And I remember I got like my first B, and that thing crushed me. Oh my God, it crushed me. And I remember telling my mom and my dad, I was like, this isn't right. When I looked at my report, I'm like, this isn't right. I need y'all to go to the school. And I made them go to school and sit down with my teacher, Miss Barrett, at Hendricks Avenue Elementary in Jacksonville, Florida. Sit down with her and explain why she put this wrong letter on my report card, because that was not flying with me. And unfortunately, she didn't change it, but she gave, some tips to my parents on how I could get my A's back. My A, it was just one, but how I could get my A back, and drove me. My parents, like, they supported me, but then they had to come back, and all right, this is why. So if we want to get what you want this A, this work towards it. So just be present. It makes a difference, So I would encourage parents like that. Thank you, Tybee, for that question.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, John, you want to take that next question?
What
Communication
skill are you required to effectively function as an educator?
What communication skills are required to effectively function as an educator?
I know for me, obviously, listening is very, very important. Being non-judgmental as well. Just jumping to a conclusion when an issue is brought to my attention, or if a student has an issue, automatically thinking something when that may not be the case. So just taking in and listening to what is going on is very important as an educator. And I say that because if I listen as an educator, I'm able to then help the student problem solve, come up with a resolution of the issue that has been presented to me. So for instance, John, if I was your teacher and I said, John, you don't have your homework. And automatically you said the dog ate the homework. And so instead of me just saying, John, that's not responsible. So we would talk about it like, John, how did the dog get a hold of your homework? What happened? What could have been some other things you could have done to keep your homework safely from the dog or from one of your sisters? Okay, because you have sisters. So let's use sisters. My sisters tore up my homework. So then we would problem solve. So a part of being an educator is listening and hearing what the person says, because that's two different things. And also not being so judgmental, and to help that person problem solve so that issue won't reoccur over and over again.
Okay. You know, Dr. Sims, I agree with everything you said. I actually have a degree in communication. And so when I think about it, it's a two-way street, right? So it's you're sending messages, but you're also receiving messages. And so part of it is listening. Part of this is listening to understand. Sometimes people are talking, and before they can get done talking, we're ready to respond because we're listening to respond. And so we're listening to understand. The other thing is when people are communicating, because so in education, communication is important. Being able to articulate a concept, a theory, or message is important, because you have to be able to get, teachers. If you're a teacher, you have to be able to communicate with your students so they understand what you're trying to convey to them, right? So that is very important in terms of that piece of communication. But also even as a learner, you're communicating, right? So if I am the teacher and I'm talking and you're in classroom, you're doing this or that, right, John? That sends a message. You haven't said a word, right? But you're still communicating a message back to your teachers. And so communication is this really critical piece of everything that we do in our society, right? Whether you're an educator, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, whether you are whatever field that you go into, a veterinarian, it's important that you understand the importance of effective communication, right? And understand that even what you don't say, you're still communicating a message. And so communication is really important as an educator, both in terms of articulating and explaining, but also being able to listen, and then being able to take that information and do what you need to do with it. So it's a really key skill in education.
I like how you talked about body language. I think that's very important. That's something I try to fine tune very often. I've seen, so for myself, sitting in meetings where I'm giving sensitive information about a child to a parent, your student, we're identifying this student as having a learning disability or an intellectual disability. That's not easy information to take and to process, in the moment. So learning how to, convey that, I work from a place of empathy and sympathy, and whatever that I can do to support you during this process as we journey towards closing gaps and, helping your child to progress and make their IEP goals. That's what I want to do. But a lot of that is, in body language. So if I'm sitting and it's like, yeah, your child has a learning disability and there's no parent that's going to accept that, and be okay with it. And it's hard information to take in, but it's a little softer when you convey it, in terms of what you're verbally speaking and your body language as well. So for me, body language is very, very important in learning how to fine tune your body language for whatever situation. There are times when I've been in contentious meetings and me sitting and, okay, I got my sister girl going, and I'm talking and my neck rolling and whatever, that's not okay either, So like I said, it's something I am refining about myself and learning, and I'm not unprofessional at all, but just learning how to meet people where they are and let's move forward for the betterment of the child. So that's
yeah. And to add to that, as parents, because I'm a parent head and then my educator head on, parents, we have to teach our children about this nonverbal communication. So as Tavi was saying, going like this, that means what? When a child does that, we need to explain to the child, this is what that means. So if your teacher is asking you, why are you feeling that way? The child's like, what? No, because you have your head like this. So what does that mean? So we also have to teach our children about nonverbal communication, because I know I did not take that class until I got to USL, my communication class. But I don't recall in my son's curriculum from K through 12 that he took a communication communication class. So we can't just automatically assume that the children know the different communication skills. So as educators in K through 12 and higher ed, because I have to teach my adult students as well what that means when they come in my office and they go, I'm like, what's wrong? They're like, nothing's wrong. I say, yes, something's wrong because you're doing this, you're like this, so we have to educate them at a younger age to understand what this nonverbal communication is.
Yeah. And Dr. Sims, you talked about that one of our conversations ago. When students walk into our office, they sometimes are feeling angst and they're nervous and they're trying to navigate the system. And so it's important to meet people where they are and understand that there's no judgment. So if you come in and say, I remember we were going to study abroad. I'll never forget this. And you have to get a travel visa. You have to get a visa to go abroad. This thing that you need. And the student was in my office and he was upset because he had to get a visa. And finally, I sat down and talked to him like, why you don't want to get a visa? He said, because I already have a MasterCard and I don't know why I need a visa. And so he needed a credit card, but it was something else. It was a government document. So being able to sit down and have those conversations and really meet people where they are so they feel comfortable sharing with you, because sometimes in education, you may even in second grade, John, you may have to sit down with your teacher and tell them something that may be a little bit embarrassing. You may not want to share it with a whole lot of people. And so as educators, we try to show empathy and we try to be there for you without judging you, whatever you're going to share with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. We'll go to the next question. What character traits do you think are necessary for your profession? What character traits?
I think we talked about it before. Empathy. You have to be patient. You have to show empathy. You have to be a great listener.
Yes.
And you have to want to see people succeed. You have to be a people person, right? Because education is all about the other. And so some things that you need to be an effective educator. It's, being able to be people first, to show empathy, to be patient, to be a great listener. So some of the character traits I think you need to be an educator.
Absolutely. And as an administrator, and Tavi as well can probably agree, we have to sometimes make very tough decisions. So taking ourselves out of the equation is very important, and making a decision based on the needs of the students is what you have to do as an educator. And I say that because oftentimes if I'm presented with a situation, it's not what Dr. Sims would have done. It's what will fit the greater need of my students and their needs in the situation. So I can help them achieve their goal. John spoke about earlier that he goes after his goals and his dreams. That's the word that he used, dreams. So understanding your student's story is important. Understanding their background. Tavi spoke about the MasterCard Visa thing. Understanding there could have been just a language barrier or not being exposed to what the difference is. So as educators, we have to step back and don't assume that someone automatically knows what we're talking about. So having that passion and taking myself out of the equation is very important to be able to make decisions on the best interests of my students. Even though I deal with adult students, I make a lot of important decisions on their behalf, thinking about one thing is this whole thing coming back on campus because of COVID-19. Right now, my students are distance learning. So having to be able to make the decision to bring them back, I had to think about that. How is that going to affect their lives? They have children, they have jobs. Is it beneficial that I bring them back right now? So after talking with other administrators, we decided, no, not right now. It's not in the best interest of the student, not in the best interest of the campus. So as educators, we're not making decisions only for solely ourselves, but also we're making them most importantly for the people's lives that we are impacting and making a difference in.
That's good. That's good. Tavi, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I summed that one up. See, I spoke.
She summed it up well. Did great. She did a great job.
Go, girl. I would say for me, being honest and having integrity. Those are very important for me, especially in special education. You know, you have a lot of times where people I've seen over the years that they want to jump straight to a child having a disability. And it's like, no, well, has the classroom teacher, have they done everything that they can to support this child, you know? So just in little things like that, having integrity in your paperwork, you know,
Mhm.
and how in your work ethic, how do you present, you know, the work that you do? So those are very big for me, and making sure that those are conveyed in every part of my work. So how I show up on time, that's part of my integrity. You know, the work that I do, is it quality work? Is it turned in on time? You know, does it really speak to the needs of the child, to the needs of the family? So that's one that I hold very dear, having integrity in this profession, especially.
Absolutely.
All right. Next question. Did you have, you want to read that one? I'm sorry, I'm just taking over. Read that one.
Did you have any memories,
Mentors.
or supportants available to you on your journey of becoming
An educator.
educator?
So, did you have any mentors or supporters on your journey?
Mhm.
It doesn't even have to be just towards education, because I think a lot of
Mhm.
us have mentors from a young age that
Mhm.
they didn't know what we were going to be, but they knew we were going to be something. So they spoke to that, they pushed us, and they held us accountable. So you can speak to any mentor at any point in your life.
You know, I had mentors and supporters all throughout my life. It started with my family.
Mhm.
You know, they often saw things in us that we didn't see in ourselves, right? And so they consistently pushed us to be better than they were. They always said, you know, I want you to have more and be better than we are. And so my initial supporters was my family, particularly, you know, I used to always talk about, you know, the women in my life, right? You know, my mom who always talked about the love of Christ, my grandma who talked about the love of family, my aunt Janice who's always pushed the love of education, and then my sister, my late sister, who taught me the love of friendship. And so it's always so all throughout my life, I've had these people who have taught me lessons. And then once I went on to college, I had tons of mentors throughout college. There were high school teachers along the way who pushed me, who said, "Tyver, you can do this. You can be great. Just continue to go for it." I had when I went to college, I had people who said, you know, "Tyver, you could do this." I remember when I was thinking about, you know, running for homecoming king or student government president, you know, at the University of South Florida. I mean, I had people who pushed me. And then once I became a professional, I had people who would pull me to the side who would say, you know, young man, at the time I was much younger, young man, you have so much potential. So they would pour into me. They would give me some of the tools that I would need to be successful in this moment, but also in the next moment. And so that's why it was important when I talk about the things that I did with the Urban League and all these other organizations. It was because so many people poured into me from my community, from my church, from my jobs. They all poured into me and helping me get to the next level. And so that's why it's important to pay it forward, because there are so many people both. And when I talk about mentors, we often think about people who are older than us or people who are professionals, but even my peers, you know, Shirley talks about her partner, Albert, you know, he's a mentor, right? I see that what he's doing with his leadership academy, right? And that inspires me and encourages me to want to give back. So even your peers can be people that you look up to and that have mentored you. So I think if you take a look around you, John, there are mentors all around you. John, there are supporters all around you, and they want to be successful, whether that's someone in your school, whether that's one of your siblings, whether that's somebody in your home. Look, if you look right, immediately to your right, you have one of your biggest supporters right next to you, Miss Nikki. So there are people all around us who want us to be successful. We just have to recognize that and then let them in so that they could guide us to where we need to go. Because we don't know everything. I wish I knew everything, but I don't. It's those mentors who were able to say, Tavi, you know, I'm about to go into this door, and they will say, don't walk into that door. You need to go to the next door, right? And so they help guide and direct me. So that's really important. You have mentors all around you, just like we do. And so take advantage of them, John.
Absolutely. And Tavi said something very important. He kept repeating this phrase, and I wrote it down. He said, "You can do this. You can do this. That's very, very important. Children need to hear that, teens and including adults. We still need to hear you can do this. So that's something that has been embedded in my brain since I was younger. My family has been very, very supportive. My grandparents who are no longer with us, my mom, my dad, my siblings, I'm the oldest, but my siblings have always told me, you can do this. So we need to encourage our children that they can do this. Mentors in the community. When I first started in education, I used to sit at the table and I would be the youngest one there, along with being female and being Black. And oftentimes I would be quiet and I wouldn't speak. But then when I did speak, someone came up to me afterwards and said, whoa, why are you not speaking? You know, you belong here. You've shown that you belong here. And so that staying in my mind that I can do this, I have continued to push forward. And I know Miss Nikki talked about not getting that A that one time and fighting through to get that A that you wanted. So with that being said, you won't always succeed the first time. Don't give up, John, and little people listening and adults. Don't give up. Keep pushing because you can do this, and listen to your mentors. One thing that I have learned is that when you identify a person as your mentor, they are speaking from a place of passion, a place of love. So they're not going to steer you intentionally, you know, the wrong way. They want you to be successful. So listen to what your mentor is saying. Yes, you can still make your own decision, but this is a person that is your mentor. They want you to be successful. They want you to go after those dreams that you want to go after, John, and little people listening. Because why? You can do this. Don't forget that. Write that down. And thank you for saying that over and over. And I can completely relate to it, that I pretty much think I can do anything that I put my mind to. That's not cockiness or arrogance. That's just me being confident within myself and my ability as a woman, as a mom, as a Black educated woman, and a person that is involved in my community.
That's good. That was very good. You want to share anything?
John, you don't have nothing. Tell us some great things that you've done in school to show that you can do everything that you put your mind to. You want to share with us a little bit?
Well, when I was in first grade, I always been the top person in class, and I've been helping a lot of students get their grades up and learn more education.
Wow.
That's great. That's great, John. And John,
Can he tell y'all really quickly about how we serve, because he's an excellent servant leader. So tell him about
absolutely.
our serve days on Saturdays.
When we do our serve days, we give them a greeting, and even in cold weather, we still participate and have fun.
And we give away
Stuff that we donate.
So Miss Nikki, John won an award. John, can you tell us about the award you won?
Oh, I won a reward for participation.
It's the Joy of Serving Award. That was the first, it's named in honor of my mom. She was Joyce Anthony, and she was the one who inspired me and who taught me how to be a servant leader. When I was little, she always provided opportunities for me to go. We would take care of my grandfather who had Alzheimer's. He lived with us, and then we had to unfortunately place him in a nursing home, but we would go regularly. So, you know, I was partially his caregiver, you know, from feeding him to grooming him to just sitting with him and talking with him. And that turned to me learning how to interact with other residents at the nursing home. And so my mom was my example, basically. And so the award is named after her, or in honor of her, the Joy of Serving Award. And he was the first recipient, along with another young lady. She's a teenager, but he was the first recipient. And I couldn't have thought of anyone better to receive it, because, like I said, he's been with me and my poster child and everything since the beginning. And he is just, he goes hard, and he is a so that is a little bit about him. We don't have a lot of time. I do want to share. Let me see. we get into another question, it might take us over our time. We only have an hour. So
Okay.
I will say just thank you very much.
Yeah.
This has been really, really awesome. There's so many comments about how awesome you all have done and the information that you share. And that touches my heart because that's what I want. I want parents to learn how to get involved in their child's futures now. It does not start when
Mhm.
college at 12th grade. That's not it. That's not okay. Basically, you know, you start now when they're little, you groom them now, you prepare them now, and you might not know what they want to do, but at least have an inclination of how you want to support, you know, exposing them to different things. So that is my heart. Thank you all so much for sharing everything that you shared. I'm
Absolutely.
full right now, so I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Thank you for just giving your time tonight. I really appreciate it. I wish you would go back in the comments just to see the impact that you made. So please go back in the comments. And if you will also share your information in the comments for anyone, if you are available for people to reach out to you if they have questions or if there's a way they could contact you, put your business information, Dr. Sims. If people want to contact you about the training classes for their teams, share. If you are in our viewing audience, please share this cast with your friends, with your loved ones. Just share it. You know, we want to reach as many people as we can. If you all want to close out, well, if you want to say some words before we close out, you can.
Excuse me. Absolutely. Again, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, John, for everything that you're doing. Miss Nikki, helping out in the community. People often think that they need a lot of time to help out. An hour here, an hour there makes a difference. Just touching the lives of the younger generation. As parents, start early, you know, sit down with your children, see what exactly they want to do, encourage them. And it's okay if they change their mind, be there for them. Let the teachers know who you are. They know me as Maurice's mom, and he's in high school. That's Maurice's mom. Yes, this is Maurice's mom. But that shows that I have his back. I have your back. If you're interested in coming to college, you have two wonderful people here that would be more than happy just to talk to you about the process. Even if you don't go to Tennessee or come to Azure to see me, I'm all about helping and empowering people through this process. There's a lot of help out there. To follow my company is iTrainNow. We'll be doing a lot of free seminars for career training. You can also find me on LinkedIn at Shirley Sims. My picture pop up, and you can get a hold of me that way. But thank you so much. I really enjoyed this. I can't believe our hour is up. So let me let Tavi do his
Same here. So I did not realize that we were live. So when you kept talking about comments, I'm thinking, what are you talking about? So to everybody who is with us live, great seeing you. I saw Albert and LaTroy, people who I've known for years from my days at USF. So good to see all of you on the call. I would say, Nikki, continue to do what you're doing. This is phenomenal. I think we need more people in our communities that want to pay it forward, want to give young people the opportunity to be successful in whatever they want to do. And so I commend you, Nikki, for the work that you're doing and how you're impacting communities and changing lives. And then, John, I commend you, young man. I know that you are going to be successful no matter what you do. And I can't wait to see what you do and where you are in the future, because I know you and many of the other little people who Nikki worked with have such great futures ahead of you. And so I am extremely proud of you, young man. Know that we are in your corner and that we are all Team John. To my little people, you got your Tennessee shirts. We play our football game next week against Missouri. So wear your Tennessee shirts to send us some luck. And again, those of you who are listening, those of you who are giving comments, those of you who will watch this later, know that our communities are dealing with two pandemics, one around COVID and the other around racial and social injustice. And so we all need you in this fight. This is all of our business, and this is all of our fight. And so continue to do what you can do in your communities to make sure that young people coming behind us like John have every opportunity They need to be successful and have every opportunity that they need to impact their communities and ultimately change lives, change nations, and change generations. And so thank you again, Nikki, for this opportunity. John, happy for you and know that you'll do great things. Dr. Sims, as always, anytime I get to present and be on the panel with you, I'm honored. So again, thank you all.
Thank you. All right. Thank you.
This is it. Thank you for joining us for our very first segment of our Little Leaders Career Exploration Series. I have thoroughly enjoyed myself. I learned a lot. I know that you all learned a lot, but don't just learn it. Once you have the information, you become responsible, take it and apply it. So I want to see little people doing great things. All right. That's basically it. Make sure if you have not done so, like our page, love our page, share our stuff. And thank you for joining us. You want to say anything?
Thank you for having us.
All right. Y'all have a great night. We appreciate you for joining us. Good night.
Good night.